Hi there, it's me again. And today we're going to learn about how to prepare food in the kitchen. And I'm not going to teach you a specific recipe. I'm just going to walk you through the steps that I take whenever I'm ready to prepare something in the kitchen. So the first thing that I think to myself is, what am I going to make, right? So I'm going to look around the kitchen and I noticed that my bananas aren't looking too good. I have a plan for bananas that don't look too good. All right. So I'm going to take my bananas and I'm going to put them over here. I'm going to go to my cookbook and I'm going to find a recipe in my cookbook that I know. Now I've made this lots of times, but every time I still pull out my recipe book. So the first step is to think about what is it that you want to make. The second step is to get a recipe out and review it. So this is a great cookbook, and in this I have my second step, which is pancakes. Yes, I love making pancakes. I like making pancakes for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. Pancakes are fantastic anytime. And you may be wondering why the bananas. I'll tell you that. It's a little trick. I'll teach you that in a second. So I've decided what I want to make. I've got my recipe out. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read the recipe all the way through. Now, even if I've done this hundreds of times, I always read my recipe all the way through, because sometimes there's steps that you have to do and prepare for beforehand before you start doing another step. So following directions to the recipe is really important, and I don't like to leave that up to my memory. I like to make sure, that's why we have a recipe, to follow the recipe. So I've read through my recipe. Now the next step is for me to gather the ingredients that I need for this recipe. All right, so I'm going to go to the cupboard. I need flour, sugar, baking powder, salt. It says I need an egg, but I learned something. That's where the bananas come in. So my wife got allergic to eggs at one time. And so I went online and I discovered that when you're baking, you can substitute a banana for an egg. It's crazy, I know. So you can take half of a banana, and the older and more mushier the banana is, the better. And you can use that instead of an egg. So I'm going to substitute in my ingredient list the one beaten egg. I'm going to take half a banana, and I'm going to mush it up until it almost looks like scrambled eggs. And I'm going to use that in my recipe. I need a cup of milk, and I need oil. So I'm going to gather all those ingredients, and I'm going to put them out together. All right, so now I got my ingredients, and now I gathered all the utensils I'm going to need to make my pancakes. I need 2 different bowls because I'm going to mix wet ingredients and dry ingredients separately, and then I'm going to mix them all together. I've got my spatula ready, and I've got my fry pan. It's all clean, so I made sure it's all clean before I took my stuff out. So that's my next step, to gather all my stuff I need to prepare my recipe with. All right. So then the next thing is to consider any kind of who I'm making the food for. So I'm making this for my wife, who has got a minor allergy to eggs, and so I've considered that, and that's how I discovered that bananas can be substituted when baking for eggs. Kind of cool. So I've considered that, and now my last part, really simple, is to wash my hands. So I'm just going to wash my hands, right? We all know how to wash our hands now, and then I'm ready to cook. All right, that's it. So those are the simple steps that you can use whenever you're ready to prepare something in the kitchen. All right, so the first thing, obviously, you have to think about what you are going to make. The second thing is to get your recipe out and read the recipe all the way through, no matter how many times you've made it before. The third step is to gather all your ingredients that you need for that recipe. The fourth step is to gather all the stuff, the utensils and cooking materials, anything that you need to make your recipe with. Make sure they're clean. And then think about food allergies, so that are there going to be any substitutions to ingredients that need to be made. And then lastly, wash your hands and get going. Have fun. I love cooking in the kitchen, and following a recipe is so important, and it reminds me of life in general. There are rules that we have in life that we have to follow, and sometimes, we think we know all the rules, and so, we think everything's okay, but then we break those rules, and there's consequences to that. So if in making my pancakes, I used eggs instead of bananas, I would have made pancakes for my wife that she can't eat. So sometimes the rules that we have to follow have consequences that we may not be able to see right away. That's why it's important to make sure that we follow the rules. Now, if we think that there's a rule that's not fair, that doesn't mean that we don't have to follow that rule. We still have to follow that rule, but maybe there's a way, like in my original recipe, I used eggs, but there was a way that I can alter those rules or have those rules changed that makes it more fair. And in this case, I was able to change the rules so that my wife could have pancakes. All right, so that's today's challenge, learning how to prepare and getting ready to cook something in the kitchen. Those simple steps will do you well. And remember, follow your recipe. And today's character trait is talking about being obedient. And being obedient is following the rules, just like we follow the rules to our recipe. Great. Have a great day.